Discover the heartwarming moment a single dad transformed a wheelchair-bound CEO's wedding loneliness into an unexpected love. Ryan stood amidst the bustling crowd at the Maplewood Country Club, his heart pounding. The air was charged with excitement, but a shadow loomed over the glamorous wedding preparations. He noticed Laura, the bride-to-be, her wheelchair seemingly capturing not just her body but the attention of everyone in the room. The gleam of her engagement ring contrasted sharply with the sorrow etched on her face. Here she was, a successful CEO, yet so vulnerable in that moment, isolated despite the sparkling decorations surrounding her. Ryan was just a mechanic and grocery clerk, but he felt an urgent need to help. He'd always taught his daughter Sarah, whose dreams of college wouldn't let him rest easy, that hard work and kindness could change lives. He approached Laura, offering to help adjust the floral arrangements. The conversation flowed easily between them. Laughter punctuated the tension, and for brief moments, the weight of her father's absence seemed lighter. "Thank you for your help," Laura said, her voice soft but edged with sorrow. "I feel like I'm drowning in all this, and then there's the part of me that misses him so much." Ryan could hear the tears behind her words, and they clenched at his heart. He nodded, acknowledging the unexpressed grief between them. As the evening wore on, Ryan caught glimpses of the community coming together, all pouring their efforts into this wedding. Yet it was Laura's struggles that became the focal point of their conversations. He admired her resilience, the way she maneuvered her wheelchair through the bustling crowd. She shared her dreams of leading her company to new heights, but Ryan could sense the crack in her armor. Behind her poised exterior was a woman wrestling with the shadows of a tragic past. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. The wedding day arrived, cloaked in anticipation. The decorations sparkled like stars, but an underlying tension simmered beneath the surface. Then, in a shocking moment, Laura's fiancé, Charles, unlashed his contempt with a careless remark that cut deeper than any blade. "Can you really lead a company from a wheelchair? And you think you can handle all this?" It was a challenge that encompassed both her worth and the love she strived to accept. Ryan's heart raced with indignation. He stepped forward, fueled by values etched in him through years of hard labor and unwavering respect. "That's completely out of line," he declared, his voice breaking through the laughter and celebration around them. The air thickened as gasps echoed in the room. The instant felt vital. Electric heads turned, eyes widened. Laura's expression shifted, confusion meeting gratitude. In that moment, Ryan wasn't just a single dad. He was her unexpected ally, the champion of dignity who stood against everyone's unwarranted judgments. As the confrontation unfolded, Ryan stood at the crossroads between two worlds, and that singular moment forged a bond between him and Laura against the tide of societal scrutiny. Would love thrive, molded by respect and understanding? With the wedding bells about to ring, uncertainty loomed like dark clouds over their fates. Would they embrace acceptance, or would fear imprison them both? Ryan's heart raced as the air thickened with tension. The stares of the guests felt like daggers, and in that singular moment, he sensed the world shifting. Laura's confidence wavered, her composure cracking just enough for him to see the pain hiding beneath the surface. "I'm fine," she whispered, but he knew better. He took a step closer, the crowd still buzzing with shock. "Laura, don't let anyone define who you are or what you can do," he replied softly, his words a lifeline thrown into her turbulent sea. Her eyes locked onto his, a flicker of understanding sparking between them. "Ryan," she began, but before she could finish, the wedding planner rushed over, her face aflame with anxiety. "The ceremony is about to start. Laura, you need to get ready." For a moment, the chaos melted away. In Ryan's gaze, Laura found a reassurance she didn't know she desperately needed. "I'll be right there. Just give me a minute," she assured the planner, who nodded but shot a wary glance at Ryan. unconvinced that this wasn't about to escalate again. With a deep breath, Laura steered her wheelchair back to the preparations, but Ryan stayed within her reach. He could see the turbulence in her eyes. She was grappling with the choice of surrendering to doubt or seizing a moment to reclaim her identity. Laura, he called gently, his voice low. You deserve to be cherished for who you are. Don't let Charles take that from you. Her muscles tensed at his words, but a soft, nostalgic smile crept onto her face in acknowledgement of the struggle she faced every day, not just today. You're right, she whispered, almost to herself. With a nod, he encouraged her to face the crowd, to face her fiancé, the wedding, and the life ahead of her. As she drew in a deep breath, he felt a surge of pride swell within him. Laura was stronger than her circumstances. As the ceremony began, the music filled the air with a sweet melody, wrapping around them like an embrace. Guests settled into anticipation, and even Charles, regaining his composure, scanned the crowd with confidence. But Ryan couldn't shake the uneasy tension. While everyone smiled at the sparkling tableau, he remained acutely aware of the fragile emotional landscape beneath. When the officiant began speaking, Ryan caught Charles sneering at Laura, a smirk that ignited a flame of anger within him. That moment stretched painfully long. Ryan's protective instincts kicked in, driving him toward the edge of the aisle, ready to defend Laura once more. But then, Laura shifted. She met Charles's gaze, challenging his contempt with her own fiery determination. Their eyes locked in a battle, and the air shifted again. Would she call him out? Would she embrace her power? The question hung heavy and electric around them. Just as Laura opened her mouth, a hush fell over the crowd. Would she choose love shaped by respect, or reclaim her autonomy even in the face of expectation and defiance? The choice loomed like a shadow, casting an unpredictable light over both their futures. The silence was deafening. Every heartbeat reverberated through the crowd as Laura gathered her strength. She looked away from Charles, her fiancé, and held Ryan's gaze instead. In that moment, the noise of the world faded to a whisper. There was no crowd, just them. I am more than this wheelchair, she said, her voice gaining volume and clarity, trembling with conviction. I am more than your expectations. Each word felt like a hammer striking an anvil, igniting the air with power. Charles's expression twisted, confusion lining his face alongside irritation. The smug attitude he wore so proudly began to crack. A mumbled response escaped his lips, but Laura didn't waver. She had stepped firmly into her truth, and there was a surge of energy in the air as if the universe itself was urging her forward. Ryan felt the crowd shift. Murmurs spread like wildfire, enthusiasm replacing the tension. This was not what they had expected. People leaned in, captivated, some encouraging, some astonished. Laura, please, Charles interjected, his voice rising in a flustered attempt to regain control. We can talk about this later. No, she declared, stronger than ever. We'll talk about this right now. The words tumbled out, a release of everything she held back for too long. I deserve to be seen. I deserve love that honors who I am, not who you want me to be. Her declaration touched a spark in the audience, and gasps rippled through the guests. Faces transformed, expressing everything from shock to admiration. Suddenly, the wedding, once cloaked in a fantasy of perfection, felt raw and real. There was hope blooming where once there was doubt, and Laura, the woman in the wheelchair, emerged as a figure of courage. Ryan watched the change sweep over her. There was a light in her eyes one he hadn't seen before, radiating strength. Laura, I'm here, he whispered, but the words barely escaped his lips as the officiant faltered in his speech, entirely at a loss. The wedding planner looked around nervously, knowing this was not the script they had rehearsed. But as she glanced back at Laura, she saw something real happening in front of her. For the first time, Laura smiled, illuminated by a newfound clarity. The fear, the insecurities, they were still there, but they felt lighter somehow. She had taken control of her moment. Do you really want to marry someone who doesn't support you for you? She asked, her voice steady now, no longer trembling. Someone who sees you as a project to fix? The guests held their breath, the tension now shifting towards Charles, who stood flabbergasted, unable to formulate a comeback. The ceremony had taken an unexpected turn, revealing deep truths. Laura's fear began to dissolve, making space for something bigger. She wasn't just fighting for her voice anymore. She was beginning to claim her life again. As Charles opened his mouth, struggling for words, Laura turned her back on him and faced the crowd. She noticed Ryan at the aisle's edge, his encouragement firm and steady. This is my moment, she thought, and suddenly, she could feel the warmth of acceptance wrapping around her. And then she heard a voice from somewhere in the crowd, someone daring to ask, "What will you do next, Laura?" That simple question hung in the air, and they all waited, eager for her answer, for what she would choose, what road she would take now. Laura took a deep breath, filling her lungs with the electric energy of the room. She scanned the crowd, catching glimpses of surprised faces, some hopeful and some skeptical. Her heart raced as the question still echoed in her mind. What would she do next? Maybe I'll start living for myself instead of for everyone else, she finally said, her voice steady. Today is about me. It's about finding my worth beyond expectations, beyond limitations. The determination in her words filled the air like a song, resonating with those listening. The crowd shifted again, some already whispering in admiration. Ryan's eyes sparkled with respect. He nodded slowly, as if she had just unveiled a truth he had always hoped she would realize. Laura's mind swirled with possibilities. I want to travel to experience life beyond these walls I've let define me. I want to share my story and help others find their voice, too. For the first time in a long while, she felt alive, emboldened by her own declaration. Suddenly, Charles interrupted, upset and desperate. You can't just throw everything away. You're making a mistake. His voice cracked as he stepped forward, trying to take control of the situation, but Laura didn't flinch. No, Charles. The real mistake would have been to marry someone who can't embrace me as I am. She recognized the fire in her chest, rising to match the desperation in his tone. I want to go back to being invisible for you. I refuse to hide. Tears stung Charles's eyes, and the crowd's murmurs escalated. The transformation unfolding was palpable. They weren't just witnesses. They were part of a movement happening in real time. You've always wanted me to be something I'm not, and I get it. It's hard to see me for who I am in this chair. But I have dreams. I have goals. I want to love fiercely, and I don't want to waste another second on someone who sees my challenges as burdens. Her heart thumped loudly, and she could feel the anticipation building. With a swift turn, she met Ryan's gaze again, finding strength in his supportive smile. And those who truly care about me will celebrate my independence. Ryan, you've already seen my spirit. Thank you for being the one who believes I can fly. The audience erupted claps, cheers, and a sense of real connection filled the space. Laura felt the vibrations of their excitement wash over her, a reminder that she wasn't alone. They were together in this moment, honoring courage and new beginnings. Charles stood frozen, reality settling on him like a heavy cloak. Laura, I know, she interrupted softly, her tone not filled with anger but sadness. I won't allow you to manipulate me anymore. You need to let me go. We both do. The applause grew, loud and encouraging, drowning out his response as if the crowd embraced her decision altogether. Laura's breath quickened to match their energy, adrenaline coursing through her veins. From this day forward, I choose myself, she declared, arms open wide to the crowd, feeling the warmth of acceptance envelop her. But even as she basked in her newfound freedom, a flicker of uncertainty tugged at her heart. What would life look like beyond today? What lay ahead for a woman daring to embrace her true self? She felt the weight of their expectations shift, and as the echoes of applause faded, another voice rose. What does that mean for you and Ryan? All eyes turned to her, the question hanging heavy in the air. Uncertainty danced with excitement, and she realized this was just the beginning. Laura's pulse quickened as the crowd's attention turned to her. A million thoughts raced through her mind, but the weight of the question brought clarity. What did it mean for her and Ryan? She had just laid bare her soul, and now she had to confront the implications. She started, but the words caught in her throat. She met Ryan's gaze again. His soft smile reassured her, yet a pang of nervousness gripped her chest. Would this new chapter include him? I don't know, she admitted. I'm just starting to understand who I am. The honesty of her response hung in the air. Ryan, she hesitated, then continued, You believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. But I need to figure out who I am without the weight of anyone else's expectations." The crowd reflected a range of emotions from hopefulness to concern. Their eyes flickered between her and Ryan, eagerly waiting for what might unfold next. Ryan took a step closer, his voice gentle. "Laura, I don't want to overwhelm you. This is your journey. I'm here to support you." The sincerity in his eyes warmed something deep inside her. It sparked a rebellious flame, reminding her that she was not bound by anyone else's narrative but her own. "I appreciate that, Ryan, more than you know. But I need time to explore, to breathe and live for myself to be me." A sigh of relief rippled through the room, a collective understanding that what she was saying was important, necessary. Charles, still present but clearly floundering, finally spoke up. "But what about us? You can't just walk away, no?" "Charles," she said firmly, her voice steadier than before. "I've spent too long holding on to something that wasn't real, trying to fit a mold that never suited me. I won't do that anymore. I need the freedom to decide my own path." There was a moment of silence that felt thick, heavy with emotion. It was as if everyone was holding their breath, waiting for the next unfolding reality. The atmosphere shifted again, this time filled with support. Laura could feel it, the warmth of the crowd's encouragement fueling her. "I won't pretend to know what happens next. All I can do is take the first step." As she glanced at Ryan again, she caught a glimpse of pride in his eyes. It gave her courage. "I want to take that step to discover the world. I want to write my story, visit new places, and meet new people who see me for who I am." The audience erupted in cheers again, this time louder and more passionate. Women cried tears of joy, and men nodded in agreement. This wasn't just Laura's victory. It felt like a collective one. But as the exhilaration swelled around her, a thought pierced through the desire to reconnect with her estranged friends and family lingered in her heart. What if her journey also meant patching the torn fabric of her life back together? Her heart raced again, but this time with the thrill of possibilities. "And once I find my footing, I want to build a community, a place where others like me can rejoice and feel valued." The idea seemed to resonate within the crowd, and cheers erupted once more. Yet as the celebration grew, Laura felt a tightening in her gut. She didn't want to set off on this adventure alone. Would Ryan still be there when she returned? Would her family accept her new self? The questions hung like clouds over her head, dark yet stirring curiosity. "Tonight is just a beginning," she said, "but I refuse to go back into hiding." And with that, Laura looked past the crowd, envisioning a life full of wonder yet to unfold. But what if the past she thought she was leaving behind came rushing back in ways she could never have predicted? Laura stepped back from the microphone, the echoes of cheers still dancing in her ears. The adrenaline pulsed through her veins, making her feel light yet grounded, alive yet vulnerable. As applause manicured the air like a tender embrace, she caught Ryan's eye again. His smile seemed to beam exactly how she felt inside, excited yet uncertain. "Laura!" A voice shouted from the crowd, breaking her thoughts. It was Jessie, a childhood friend she hadn't seen in years. "What about the picnic last month? You were supposed to come." The question from the familiar face cut through the moment, grounding her in reality. I know," Laura stammered, her heart pounding. Memories flooded back, the small gatherings, the laughter that once filled the air like music. But so much had changed. "I've been working on myself, trying to figure things out." Jessie touched her arm with warmth, a gesture both comforting and demanding. "We miss you. You don't have to go through this alone. We're here for you." Just then, Laura felt the weight of the crowd pressing in. She had spent too long avoiding uncomfortable conversations, running from her own shadows. But Jessie's plea stirred something deep within, an urge to reconcile the myriad pasts that woven through her life. "I'd love to reconnect," she said, her voice gaining strength. "It might take me time, but I want to make it right. All of it." The audience shifted again, their attention pivoting back to her as whispers of reunion rippled through the crowd. She loved the idea of her friends supporting her. Yet, the shadows of her estranged family loomed in her heart, making her ponder, would they welcome her back? Ryan stepped in, his presence like a soothing balm. "That's a beautiful thought, Laura. It's amazing what can happen when you embrace your journey. Maybe it's about opening doors, not just venturing out." "Yes," herself echoed, biting her lip in excitement. It's time to write a new chapter, with everyone included. She took a deep breath, the exhilaration igniting something new within her. The thought of mending broken ties rekindled hope, yet fear and doubt hung just beneath the surface. What if her family was still bitter? What if they refused to embrace the new Laura? A sharp inhale invaded her thoughts, and with one last gaze at the crowd, she knew she had to take the leap. Tonight is just the beginning, she declared, her voice steady with determination. As she scanned the familiar faces, she felt that tension in her gut. It reminded her of something she'd put off for too long: direct confrontation with her past. I don't want to weave myself into a story without facing my roots. I owe it to myself to confront my family too. The applause that followed her speech felt even more intense, as if the crowd understood the gravity of her admission. Yet, excitement crackled in the air. This was a different kind of bravery, the acceptance of her past, and a willingness to face the unknown. As she stepped back from the microphone, she felt a rush of relief, but also a new spark of anxiety. Could she truly have the conversations she needed without spiraling into a whirlpool of emotions? Ryan watched her closely, his expression contemplative but full of encouragement. You've got this, Laura. Just remember your heart knows the way. She nodded, appreciating his support. But as she glanced around, a single thought echoed in her mind. This was only the tip of the iceberg. Amid the cheers and the embers of possibility, a stirring question arose. What if mending her past meant facing an emotional storm she wasn't prepared for? With those thoughts buzzing, Laura locked eyes with Ryan, who seemed to understand her uncertainty. They were standing together at the precipice of transformation. Would they make it through together? The next chapter awaited, and she would have to step into the unknown. The moment Laura stepped off the small stage, a wave of emotions hit her hard. The cheers faded into a soft murmur as she made her way through the crowd. It felt as if she was walking through a dream, the faces around her blurring into a wash of support mixed with a hint of apprehension. She couldn't shake the feeling of being exposed, like the fabric of her past was unraveling just as she'd begun to stitch it back together. Jessie caught up with her, excitement glowing in her eyes. Laura, that was wow. You really put it out there, she said, pulling Laura into a spontaneous hug. I'm so proud of you. Thanks, Jessie, she replied, smiling through the heaviness in her chest. The warmth of Jessie's embrace was a reminder of the bonds that lay dormant, just waiting for her to rekindle them. Ryan stepped in beside her, his presence still calming. You were brilliant, he said, voice low and sincere. But how do you feel now? Really, honestly. She paused, taking a deeper breath to gather her swirling thoughts. I'm terrified. This feels like the beginning of something huge, but what if? What if I can't handle it? He nodded, catching the weight of her words. Facing your family is a big step, Laura. It's natural to feel shaken, but remember that honesty is powerful. It strengthens not just you, but everyone involved. Laura glanced toward the door leading to the outside. She could almost hear the echoes of her family's laughter from the past, mingling with the bittersweet memories of her departure. What if they don't want me back? The question slipped from her lips, fear drenching her optimism. Before Ryan could respond, Jessie spoke up. They'll see how much you've grown. Family ties can be fragile, but they're also incredibly resilient. Look at us, reconnecting after so long. Laura wished she could believe it. The last time she had attempted to reconnect, it had ended messily. But this was different. This time, she was filled with a newfound resolve. You're right, Jessie, she finally said, determination shining through the uncertainty. I can't hide anymore. The three of them made their way outside, the cool evening breeze brushing against her skin. Stars twinkled sharply against the darkening sky, and for the first time in a long while, Laura felt a stir of hope. Standing outside under the vast canopy of stars, she took a deep breath, drawing in the crisp air. What if I reached out to them tonight? She mused aloud. Jessie and Ryan exchanged glances, surprised but intrigued. Why not? Ryan replied, a spark of excitement in his voice. You've got the courage, and you know we're right here with you. Let us do it. Jessie's enthusiasm was infectious, and Laura felt a flicker of courage ignite within her. She took out her phone, her fingers hovering over the screen as doubts flooded her mind. What if they don't respond? What if it opens up old wounds? She questioned softly, her heart racing. Every relationship has its storms, Ryan reminded her, a gentle smile on his face. You might just find that the clouds have parted. Holding her breath, Laura pressed her finger against the screen to compose a message. Hey, I know it's been a while. I want to talk. I'm ready to reconnect. As she hit send, the pulse of anxiety sharpened in her chest. What had she just done? The act felt monumental. She had tossed a stone into the still waters of her past, hoping it would stir something meaningful. The trio stood in the stillness of the night, waiting for her phone to blink in response. Whatever happens next, you're not doing this alone, Jessie whispered, squeezing her shoulder. Laura took a deep breath, contemplating the uncertain waters ahead. What if this was the moment she had been waiting for? Or perhaps the storm she feared would break her. Before she could spiral, her phone buzzed, cutting through the tension. Laura's heart raced as she glanced down, the screen lighting up with an unexpected name. Could this be the moment that changed everything? Everything hung in the balance as she read the message, a mixture of dread and intrigue flooding her senses. What would it say? The message blinked on her screen, and for a heartbeat, it felt like everything around her froze. Laura could barely read the words through her pounding heart. The name at the top was her mother's. Laura, it started, and she could feel her stomach drop. It was simple, yet somehow it felt like a ready-made string of emotions waiting to unravel. The text went on, weaving a tapestry of hesitation and concern. I wasn't expecting to hear from you. Can we talk? Her breath hitched. Laura looked up, searching Jessie and Ryan's faces for their reactions. Jessie's eyes widened, and Ryan leaned in closer, reading the same words she was. The electric tension between them snapped alive, and Laura's heart steadied just a bit. Say yes, Jessie urged, her voice barely a whisper. Ryan nodded in agreement. You need to respond. But the words felt sticky on her tongue. What should she say? The weight of her past was still heavy on her heart. Laura hesitated, fingers hovering above her phone. What if I ruin everything again? Her voice trembled, each word laced with deep-rooted fear. You won tea, Ryan said firmly. You're a different person now. Taking another steadying breath, Laura typed back, her fingers moving despite the uncertainty. Yes, I do like that. As soon as she pressed send, relief washed over her. It felt like a leap off a high dive, exhilarating and terrifying all at once. For a moment, she allowed herself to feel the warmth of possibility blooming in her chest. Jessie broke into a wide smile. See, you can do this. But as the excitement surged through her, a shadow flickered at the edge of her thoughts. What did they have to say to each other after all this time? So many words were left unspoken, and memories came flooding back, moments of laughter dulled by silence, family dinners that turned awkward, and tear-filled goodbyes. She was a stranger in her own life, and she couldn't forget the bitter taste those memories left behind. With no time for her doubts to drown her, Laura's phone buzzed again. The tension in the air crackled as she opened her messages. Her mother had replied almost instantly. When? The simplicity of the word felt daunting, yet an unexpected warmth spread through her. They were going to talk, really talk. This was it. Step one had been taken. Laura looked at her friends, her heart swelling with gratitude. I think I'll go home, she said softly. The acknowledgement was like a door creaking open after being locked for years. Want us to come with you? Ryan offered, concern flickering in his expression. No, this is something I need to do alone. But I'll call you when it's done. The resolve in her voice surprised even her. She was ready to face them, ready to confront the ghosts of her past, and find out who she really was at the heart of it all. Yes, she turned toward her car. The night felt alive with possibility. She drove through familiar streets, each landmark triggering waves of memories. Laughter from childhood dances in the air, bittersweet emotions wrapping around her like an embrace. Pulling up to her childhood home, the familiar facade took her breath away. It looked just the same, yet different, much like her. Laura took one last deep breath before stepping out. Her heart raced, and she felt every beat echoing in her ears. She walked toward the front door, hesitating just for a moment. The door lay waiting, but she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. With a steadying hand, she raised it to knock. What would await her on the other side? Would they embrace her or turn her away? There was no turning back now. The moment had arrived. The knock echoed through the quiet house, a sound that felt loud against the stillness. Laura's heart pounded in her chest. She wanted to bolt, but deep down, an unwavering sense of determination anchored her feet to the ground. The door opened slowly, creaking on its hinges as though it were a portal to another world. There stood her mother, looking just as Laura remembered, and yet somehow altered by time. A shock of gray threaded through her hair, and the lines of her face told stories only the years could reveal. Their eyes met, and for a heartbeat, time suspended between them. Laura? Her mother's voice was soft, unsure, almost like she was afraid it was a mirage. Moments stretched as they stood there, the air thick with unspoken words. Laura finally found her voice, quivering yet strong. "Hi, Mom." Her mother's expression shifted from surprise to something softer, tender. "You came." "I did," Laura said, feeling the gravity of her choice settle over her like a familiar blanket. She made her way into the house, glancing around at the familiar living room, filled with echoes of her past, the faded upholstery of the couch, the family photos hanging slightly askew. Each detail summoned memories, sharp and inviting. But they also reminded her of the pain, the distance that had grown between them. "Can we sit?" Her mother gestured toward the couch. Laura nodded, feeling the emotions bubbling just beneath her skin. They settled across from each other, the space between them pulsating with tension. Laura could sense her mother's nervousness as she clasped her hands together, waiting for words as if they had both forgotten how to start. "What did you want to talk about?" Laura's voice came out steadier than she felt. Her mother took a sharp breath. "I've thought about reaching out for so long. I never knew how." She trailed off, the regret hanging heavy in the air. Laura's heart ached. She felt the pain coiling around them, connecting them in a shared vulnerability. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm here now." A small moment of silence passed, and it ignited something raw between them. Her mother glanced at Laura closely, searching her expression. "I've missed you, Laura. So much." A lump rose in Laura's throat. "I missed you too. But there were things I couldn't understand. I wasn't ready." The words spilled out, a rush of bottled emotions. It was cathartic, unnerving, all at once. The corners of her mother's mouth quirked up briefly, a flicker of understanding dancing in her eyes. "I wish we had talked sooner. I wish I had reached out. I thought giving you space was what you wanted." Space. It had brought her both freedom and loneliness. "I always wanted a relationship," Laura admitted, her eyes glistening. "I just didn't know how to get back to you." They locked eyes, and in that moment, something shifted. It was a glimpse into the possibility of healing, the chance to bridge the chasm that time had created. "Maybe we can start now?" her mother suggested, voice thick with emotion. "There's so much I want to tell you, so much that has changed." Laura nodded slowly, her heart a fraction lighter, yet still heavy. "I want to hear it all." But just as they began to explore the vast territory of their shared past, the sound of a door opening jolted them both. A figure stepped out from the hallway, someone Laura hadn't seen in years. Her breath caught in her throat, and she wanted to ask what this meant. "Laura, it's your brother." Her heart knew a shocking jolt at the unexpected reunion. What had she walked into? Would this be yet another ripple in the complex web of their familial ties? As Laura took a step further into the moment, her brother's surprised expression mirrored her own emotions. It felt like the air thickened, pregnant with unresolved feelings, yet filled with a hopeful energy. "Ryan?" she breathed. Time stopped again. Years of separation, a mixture of joy and uncertainty, danced between them. "Laura?" he echoed, disbelief coloring his voice. "Is that really you?" The familiar name caught her off guard, melting years of silence and hurt into an emotional release she hadn't anticipated. She nodded slowly, tears glistening in her eyes. "Yes, it's me." He stepped forward, closing the distance between them, and suddenly, there were no more walls. A moment of vulnerability wrapped around them like an embrace. "I'm so sorry," he admitted, his voice cracking. "I've missed you." Laura felt the dam of emotion break. All the reasons for the rift spilled out, the misunderstandings, the heartaches, the moments lost to time. "Me too," she replied, her voice soft yet resolute. "But we can change that." Her mother watched, teary-eyed, as they stood together, a family moment still fresh with the possibility of healing. Just as they were finding their footing, her mother's voice pierced the silence. Can we talk, all of us? The request wasn't a demand, more of a homecoming aimed at mending the threads that separated them. Even as a wave of nervousness washed over Laura, she felt something inside shift. Yes, I think we need to. With that acknowledgement, they all took a seat, gathering together three pieces of a puzzle that didn't quite fit, but were meant to be joined. For so long, I thought I was keeping my distance out of love, her mother began, each word carefully chosen. I worried that my worries would only push you away. That's the thing, Laura interjected gently. It wasn't the distance. It was the silence. I felt abandoned, and it hurt more than I can express. Her mother nodded, understanding flooding her eyes. I thought that by stepping back, you'd find your own voice, but I see now that I could have supported you better. Laura's heart swelled. This was a crucial moment, real vulnerability on all sides. I know now that finding my voice wasn't just about my journey. It was about having the courage to say, I need you both even when I couldn't find the right words. The conversation flowed freely, vulnerability spilling out like a river breaking through a dam. They shared laughter over moments from their pasts, an echo of warmth that contrasted with years of unresolved feelings. Stories that once felt too painful to share now felt liberating. The weight of regret transformed into threads of connection. As the hours passed, something began to grow between them, an invisible net of acceptance crafted with shared experiences and memories. They spoke of Laura's subversion of expectations, how she had emerged from her struggles, and how her family was now part of that narrative. Does this mean you'll let us back in? Her brother asked, his voice hopeful but cautious. Laura smiled, the warmth of joy blooming in her chest. Actually, I want us to be involved in each other's lives again. No more missing years. Their eyes glistened with emotions, swirling tears, joy, connection. A promise lingered in the air, a commitment to be present and involved. As the night stretched on, Laura felt lighter, tucked warm within the embrace of forgiveness and acceptance. She was growing and transforming right there, in the comfortable chaos of her family home. Finally, her brother took her hand. This is just the start, right? He asked. Just the start, she confirmed, that spark of excitement bubbling over with every life-changing chance that lay ahead. With her family beside her and Ryan waiting in the wings, she felt the world open before her. She had finally reclaimed a piece of what mattered most, her voice, her past, and the love that surrounded her. And as she stepped outside with them, the starlit sky reflecting her newfound hope, she was ready to embrace her journey without looking back. This wasn't just a new chapter, it was the beginning of a beautiful story, one filled with connections, love, and the courage to truly live. Let's honor this moment, this transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. You need to share what this journey meant to you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. The world needs to hear about the power of love and acceptance. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the journey through these actions.